Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING and you get 10% off. I'm joined by Richard Willett, as I am every Wednesday. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. I had the overwhelming urge to do this, and then I did it.
You did it anyway. You've waved.
Yeah, I know.
Too much waving.
So,
Right, you're not going to kick off, hopefully, but you're going to start proceedings with a story that's kind of a bit weird. Me and Jay spoke about it on yesterday's Trending. Epstein victim, Virginia Giuffre, had what appears to be quite a horrendous car accident. There were lots of questions. There's even more questions today, Rich.
there's even more questions. Yeah, you do wonder why the flip flopping in it all. The actual headline of this one. So it's just a quick recap. She supposedly had a car crash with a school bus. School bus seems to be relevant in terms of what that means. Maybe it's a nod and wink to Prince Andrew, and I'll tell you why in a little while. But the headline here it makes it seem like she's retracted having 4 days to live, but that's not actually the case here at all. So let me just read this from the Daily Mail. Virginia Giuffre says she mistakenly posted claim that she has 4 days left to live on Instagram as she reveals new details of a car crash. This is where commas would come in handy because it would make a little bit difference. Jeffrey Epstein victim, Virginia Giuffre, said she mistakenly posted the claim that she had 4 days left to live to her public Instagram. Now, that implies that she mistakenly thought she was going to pass in 4 days. But actually, when you read it, and that's what I thought at first, it actually said she mistakenly posted it to her Instagram. It's supposed to be on her private Facebook account. When you read the actual post, it doesn't seem to be it posting to a family member. It seems to be more general than that. So there's all sorts of weird things going on here. I spoke to another Epstein survivor, Juliet Bryant. We did a video straight afterwards. She's terribly upset about this. She's had incidents happen to her as well. And we know that some of the Epstein survivors have past supposedly taken their life. People have attempted to take their own lives. Some of the more prominent ones, and there's many that we don't know about. But this is a very strange one. Miss Giuffre 41 sparked concerns across the globe when she shared a photo of her battered and bruised, claiming she was dying after being hit by a school bus. The snap seemed to have been taken from a hospital bed, and Miss Giuffre said a speeding vehicle had ploughed into her car and doctors had told her she had 4 days to live. Today, she issued a statement after her post triggered an outpouring of concern for her welfare, as well as questions about the circumstances of a car crash that caused her injuries and kidney failure. The statement said, Virginia thanks everyone for the outpouring of love and support. She is overwhelmed with gratitude. And then people in Australia have tried to look into this, can't get any more information. There's one claim that said it was a minor car crash. She went home after the crash. It was reported the next day by the driver of the school bus. She went home, started to feel horrific. I mean, you look at the picture and you think, why are you going home after that? Then she was taken to the hospital where that was taken, and then she got the information that her kidneys, I believe, had failed. So there's all sorts of strange things going on. She hasn't retracted that she's got 4 days to live, and maybe 2 days ago, but she has said that it was supposed to be a personal one and not out for the world to see. And I mean, we could all accidentally do that on Facebook, Instagram, obviously connected. So that's a possibility. But when you see the photo of her, she is desperately bruised up. Now, that, to me, my personal opinion is that that's more than a car crash is worth. I mean, it's all facial related by the looks of it. And with the school bus part of it, they used a big yellow US school bus to go outside Buckingham Palace. I think it was 5 years ago, with a big banner on it saying, "FBI, please call the FBI, Prince Andrew, about the Epstein case." So I'm wondering if it's a nod and a wink there, call me a conspiracy theorist, but there's something else going on here. And the confusion and the flip-flopping doesn't really help the whole situation with the Epstein survivors. It confuses things, and, maybe that's by design as well. I'm not saying Virginia's doing it, but maybe the reporting of it is by design. So it's very strange at the moment. So we don't know whether she's got 4 days to live, Gaz, or what's going on. It's very odd and disturbing. People like Juliet, who's obviously very much involved, even 20 years later, with what's going on.
It is really strange, I have to say, because you've had this accident, which it said that it caused something like $2,500 worth of damage to the car. Well, that's not a prang then. So it must have been serious enough. Then they were saying that it was reported to the police the day after by the bus driver, whilst in the same article, and I think it might even be in the same paragraph, they're saying that the police were called immediately, but replied saying, are there any injuries? If not, because we're too busy to come out, basically. If not, fine. If there are injuries, you should probably take yourself to hospital. Sort of an ambulance's job, isn't it? I think, it's all very strange. And then I'm the same as you, Rich. Like when you read that article, now I don't know if it's just written badly, which, it's the Daily Mail, it could be, but it does read like she's basically retracting the statement and saying, oh yeah, I said I had 4 days to live. Sorry, I was mistaken. I don't. And it reads as if, okay, she's going to be all right then. Maybe a week in hospital and a couple of 3 weeks recovery at home, she'll be fine. But obviously then, you have to actually really kind of, because it's not written very well, is it, Rich? You have to kind of like, no. Oh, no, this is, no, she's not retracting that statement. She's saying she was mistaken to have posted it where she posted it. Which is very strange. The other aspect to it as well is you've got Lady Victoria Hervey has, made quite a lot of statements immediately. She's an ex-girlfriend of Prince Andrew, who of course Virginia has accused. She's always maintained that Andrew's innocent and that Virginia is basically a fantasist. And so as soon as this post goes up from Virginia where she's looking very battered and bruised, as you said, she then quotes that image and basically writes karma on it, Lady Victoria Hervey, which seems a little bit distasteful. She gets a lot of backlash as a result of posting something like that, which is understandable. But then she then comes back and she says, well, okay, basically, but she is a fantasist and I don't believe that she's got 4 days to live. We'll see in 4 days, shall we? She's very dismissive of it. And so I'm looking at that kind of going, well, if this is a mistake and she isn't terminally ill, then what does that do for the credibility? Does Lady Victoria Hervey and other people that are siding with Andrew in this go, see, I told you, if she's going to make that up, then what about everything else to do with Epstein? It's very muddy waters, isn't it? And it's like I was looking at it and then I was looking at Virginia and I was thinking, right, okay, so she's estranged from her husband. She's estranged from her 3 children now. That psychologically is going to have an effect on you. I couldn't imagine being estranged from my kids. She seems to be going through a hell of a lot of stuff. And even in that post, she says what a dreadful year it's been. So there's lots going on, lots of questions, Rich. But for me, the biggest question of all is, where's the Epstein list?
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's just a distraction from that. Dershowitz was very obviously close to Epstein, and I believe she retracted her statements, if I'm not getting the people wrong, mixed around in my own head, of him abusing her. Was it Giuffre?
Yeah, she did, yeah.
Yeah, she retracted that, but again, like there was a kind of, it happened, but these people are too big and too mighty in the legal world to fight. He's obviously very much involved with these bad guys as well. He's been anointed by them. So there they go again, these group popping up. Epstein was brought up in Seagate, gate community right across the road from the Israel Knesset, which is their basically temple there, right around the corner from a Chabad school education system. So he was indoctrinated very early by the looks of it. Lady Hervey, I've got no real time for what she's got to say, regardless if you think she's lying or not. There's a time and a place to behave in a certain way, and that as an adult in her, I believe, 50s is sick, quite frankly. That's not the way we behave in the world, and certainly not if you've been privileged and grown up with a load of money. I wouldn't take what she says as anything other than let me get in the news and let me get myself seen again. So it's a very, very odd one. None of the things make any sense. I believe Giuffre was outside the one of the courts either last year or early this year, and she fell and looking very unwell and bloated. There is something going on here, but it's all distracting from where the Epstein list is, and Pam Bondi's suddenly putting people for looks like organised crime to me, but maybe from the other side, blowing up Teslas in prison for 5 years instead of actually going after the Epstein files, which we all know appear to be a distraction from what's going on underneath Zorro Ranch and Epstein Island. So there's so much more going on here. And this just muddies the waters. And I think what it does in the end, and I'm not saying Virginia's doing this, the reporting of it is getting to the point like we had with the reports of paedophilia in the UK government. It gets to the point where it's so muddy and people are giving misinformation, or it's reported that way, that you just lose interest, and it causes chaos basically, and that's the whole point. So I think that's more in the reporting, but who knows how deep this goes.
Yeah, that's true. You get so many different reports, so many different things, so many different voices, and in the end, people do they just malfunction, don't they? Just go, oh yeah, I'm done with this. It's too confusing. Well, at that point, you've won. Either way, whatever's gone on there, and it is very confusing, and hopefully, more will come out in the coming days and weeks and whatever. But I hope she doesn't have 3 days to live, as it would be now. I hope she's okay. She's a mother of 3 kids. Kids need a mum. So estranged or not, I hope she's okay. Labour, here we go. It's always good fun, isn't it? Talking about Labour in the morning. The Labour Party are set to align Britain with EU net zero laws. Imagine my shock. I thought we voted out the EU. Oh, I must have been mistaken. So Keir Starmer is poised to accept the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. Taking the power back, folks, by getting out the EU. And align with EU rules to hit net zero, right? Which, of course, is utter madness. The government wants to rejoin the EU's emissions trading scheme, carbon market, which it left when Brexit took effect at the end of 2020. Never really took effect, though, did it? From the beginning, from the second that the people of the United Kingdom voted wrong, the establishment basically did everything they possibly could to, either flat out reverse it or at least dilute it to a point where it was meaningless anyway. But the Telegraph can reveal it will mean changing British rules to match EU laws. Left the EU, didn't we? Accepting decisions from a foreign court and pressure to stay in lockstep, there's that term again, with Brussels net zero policies. Net zero policies which are, of course, as I mentioned a second ago, flaming madness. Britain will set up its own UK ETS, which also aims to incentivise companies to pollute less, but its carbon price is much lower than the EU's larger and more successful market. Rejoining the EU ETS will increase the UK carbon price, making it more expensive to pollute and cutting emissions further and faster, which will help reach the net zero goal. Yay! Which of course is nonsense, but will increase costs for consumers. Of course it will. More tax, less freedom. And when I say less freedom, obviously there's different aspects to that. Some are in COVID, stay in your house. Others are the net zero types of attacks on freedom, which are basically your freedom to do stuff and to make decisions and to be able to afford to go on an aeroplane or to be able to go into areas that used to be, it's designated for rewilding now, mate. And all this kind of stuff. Also the freedom to, grow your own food and have a croft or a small holding or a farm, which now gets rinsed with different taxation and all that sort of stuff. It's also going to have a hugely negative impact on infrastructure because anything old is bad. So, there's another power station knocked down, just as they did last week, another one in Nottinghamshire. What used to be known as Megawatt Valley, where you had all these power stations that kept the UK lit, basically one by one, bosh. They've closed them all and now they're bulldozing them. So there's no way of recommissioning one if you get to a point where there's a blackout, which is what we had as recently at the end of 2023, where they had to actually refire up these coal power stations. Can't do that now because you've bulldozed them, idiots. Actually, not idiots because you're doing it on purpose. So, yeah, it's not idiocy at all. It's another betrayal of Brexit as well, Rich, which I think another aspect of it then creates, and we've spoken about this before, that you want this apathy towards politics. Now, I don't vote. Two cheeks to the same arse. It's a choice between AIDS and cancer. Why would I want to go and get out of my house and go for a walk to put a tick in a box for whichever different crook I'm given a choice between? But at the same time, obviously their goal, I believe, is to move to a technocracy, to move away from elected officials. And so by creating a bigger apathy amongst the population, you can go, well, politics doesn't work. Politicians don't work. You don't trust them. The whole democratic thing, we tried that, didn't work. What about this? Here's one I made earlier.
Mhm.
And obviously by betraying Brexit, they'll create that apathy where people go, well, what's the point? I voted for Brexit. We won. And then what happened? You turned it all on its head and I didn't get what I voted for. So what's the point? Well, there's a technocracy. Bosh.
Is the point what you're just explaining there is that they're going to give you A or B and they control A and B.
Yeah.
So the whole point is the pincer movement there. They can get rid of politics and your democratic vote and pop in a CEO of the world there, and you'll be in part of a corporation that's below that CEO world corporation, or they can keep you in this system that they just do what they want anyway. So they're offering up you. The problem is that you're going to the hatch and going, please sir, can I have some more? Don't really like that. Oh, we've got this slop instead. Both will kill you. And that's the issue. It's not coming from us. It's coming to us by the people we're paying to keep keep us in prison. So the systems, they rely upon us relying upon them, if that makes any sense at all. So they can offer you A or B, but they control A and B as they do in politics. We know that blue and red is the same, just polarities of the same hermetic electrical force. They call it the force in Freemasonry as well. It's the whole point is that it doesn't really matter. If it fails, they have a plan. If it doesn't fail and people don't buy that, here's another one I made for you. You can have that one as well. And the issue with the technocracy one is that they're doing what they're doing anyway. They're just going to do it outright. And it's going to be far more in control in terms of surveillance and you being monitored. Everything you do is going to be for the greater good, which is communism. You'll be part of which is a cult. It's the same mentality as the cult. Do what you should do, sacrifice yourself for the greater good. And there's a balance in that. Obviously, you sacrifice some of the things you want to do to keep your family well, but you don't sacrifice your family to keep another family well. So there's no subtlety in that. And that's why you have the black and white squares, bilateral thinking. You have this kind of black and white squares in the Freemasonry where you just think in black and white terms, in absolutes. They don't want you to think down the middle there, where there's this, come on, there is something we can come to that's a better situation than either of these lunatic outcomes that you want to offer. And the technocracy one is going to be the CEO of the world, which you would call king of the world, which you would call the Antichrist beast system, exactly the same thing, whatever you want to call it. It has the same effect. So they don't mind which one you choose because they're controlling both outcomes anyway. The point is not to look to them for the answers. That's what they're terrified of.
Yeah, they don't want people to make decisions based on their own life experience, on what is best for the people around them. Because when you say, like, sacrifice yourself for the greater good, it's never for the greater good of your neighbor or of your community. It's for the less than 1% that completely take control of everything anyway. In terms of these net zero things.
You can't come out and say, we're going to have a world peace and world this, because people want different things. So all you're doing is you're rebranding communism and their solution of a one world everything into your solution of a one world everything. The only real solution, what I can see, is small communities, small strongholds, counties and countries doing what they believe is right for their own community, because it's not going to be right for another community as a certain different set of circumstances to live under. So anything that gathers everybody together into one singularity, either coming from us or coming from them, is never going to work. That's a cult.
Well, you see it even in politics in a country as small as the United Kingdom. Let's have it right. It's a tiny little island. And you've got the metropolitan elite in London making decisions that affect people in, Burnley and Carlisle. They wouldn't be able to point to those places on a map. They've got nothing in common with the communities at all. And they don't care either. So I believe in, an absolute devolution of power for sure. Israel's doing Israel things again, Rich.
They are, yeah. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but Israel killed 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers one by one, says the UN. One by one. Now, how much more do we have to keep going? Along with this, if you pull the funding people, they can't do this stuff. Take a little while, but they can't do it. The UK and the US are still funding this nonsense while they're banging on about all this other stuff. The money's trickling out the back end there. Elon Musk is saving loads of money with Dodge. Actually, he's just putting loads of people out of work that are going to stop him and his cult from doing what they want to do. That's exactly what he's doing. He's regime change, Sabbateanism. And he's taking that money and sending it over to Israel so they can kill Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers one by one. 15 Palestinian paramedics and rescue workers, including at least one United Nations employee, were killed by Israeli forces one by one.
So an execution then, which is a war crime.
It's an execution. And buried in mass graves 8 days ago in South Gaza. According to the UN Humanitarian Office, the Palestinian Red Crescent and the civil defense workers were on a mission to rescue colleagues who had been shot at earlier in the day when their clearly marked vehicles came under heavy Israel fire in Rafah's city Tel al-Sultra district. A Red Crescent official in Gaza said there were evidence of at least one person being detained and killed, as one of the bodies had been found with their hands tied. So this is a message: don't come in and help these people. Look what's going to happen to you. The other option is to pull the funding from these lunatics. You can't keep funding this. You need to pull the plug. That's the only way for these lunatics to stop. But obviously, this is part of this messianic agenda that I bang on about all the time, and that's why you see us joining into this communist world of technocracy. This all plays into the same thing, and it has a biblical agenda, not prophecies. These mad lunatics, and they are very around these major politicians, Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu, and we'll just keep speaking about this until people start to get it. And people are talking about this. So there is an information race going on here because people are talking about this and starting to understand, because the more they push forward, the more obvious this is becoming, that this has a biblical Middle East, Jerusalem, Solomon's Temple element to it. And you wouldn't have thought that. I heard someone this morning who's got a popular podcast, popular because he doesn't know what he's talking about, quite frankly, asking Candace Owens, is it just the way the world works in terms of corporate takeovers? No. The corporate takeovers are a element of the onion skin that has an agenda behind it. And it's just like, it's quite clear, and it's frustrating. And especially when people are going in to help people are also being mass murdered and killed one by one. When does this stop? It stops when we stop funding it. And I say we, it's not me and you. Where do you think all our bills are going up for? Where do you think that money's going? It's going to do this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you'll have people watching this and reading these stories going, oh, they weren't paramedics. They were Hamas. Yeah, everyone was Hamas. Look, there's a 3-year-old Hamas operative in your minds. But even say they were, right, still binding their arms and executing them, that's a war crime. But you can do what you want. You literally do what you want. And that's the problem that you've got with nations like Israel and the United States and Britain, to be fair, is that you're above any kind of law. So you have a position. If you've got a psychopath, right, you might have a serial killer that kind of wants to get caught because he wants the notoriety. That's different. But most psychopaths are kept in some form of check by the potential repercussions for doing what they do. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nutcase. I would quite like to go and do X, Y, and Z, but if I do that, then I'm going to be, banged up, stuck in prison for the rest of my life, and I can't. Psycho. So it's like that holds that in place. With Israel, particularly since Trump, who's 100% bought and paid for by them, as soon as he's come in, well, there's no repercussion now, so I can execute 15 aid workers and paramedics. What's going to happen to me? Nothing. Well, I'm a psychopath, so I'm going to do it, aren't I? Because there's no repercussions. And you can see that what they're planning, Rich, is to make basically the last 3 years look like nothing. They're talking already about preemptive strikes against Iran. In fact, Israel's already struck Iran, and they're having these drills with the British and with the Americans, where they're basically rehearsing delivering some form of bomb, a payload, whatever they call it, bizarre terminology, to Iran. So what's coming is going to be far worse than what we've seen. So because they know that as a result of doing that, there's going to be a backlash. there's going to be people on the streets, there's going to be people on social media, on podcasts, on shows like this, kicking off and saying, no, something's got to be done about it. So that's why they bring in these anti-Semitism laws, which have nothing to do with anti-Semitism at all. They're just to do with criticism of Israel. That's all it is. And so Trump has massively done that, but they want to extend this everywhere. And there's a video here, which is, it should alarm people that pretend they care about freedom of speech. I know that's changed now, you're winning. But this is Benjamin Netanyahu talking about censorship and shutting up people that criticize Israel, basically. And with him is a guy called Friedman, who is ambassador to Israel, US ambassador. He's also Trump's accountant, so I'm sure he knows all sorts. Listen to this kind of language.
These ignorant demonstrators. Who are they demonstrating for? For these murderers, these rapists, these mass killers. This is a reflection of a deep rot that has pervaded the intellectual hub of free societies. And this vilification of Israel, the Jewish people, and Western values has been propagated by a systemic alliance between the ultra-progressive left and radical Islam. It must be resolutely fought by civilized societies to safeguard their future. This is why we must all commend President Trump's decisive actions against anti-Semitism, and we must pressure other governments to do the same.
So there you have it, basically. As if it wasn't obvious anyway, the fact that the US is completely controlled by Israel is... He's saying there at the end there, we need to basically lobby. We need to put pressure on other nations to pass these same laws, which is what Trump's done, where basically people are getting deported for protesting against Israel. Foreign students are having their visas revoked if they protest against genocide. Imagine that. Your kids being kicked out of university, American kids being kicked out of university if they protest against genocide. It's insane, but it's about silencing people before the event as well. It's about creating a fear within people that they go, oh my God, have you seen what Israel's done? Oh my God, that's awful. I really want to say something, but I really kind of need this university place. I've worked hard my whole life for this. Oh, I'm annoyed, but what are you going to do about it? And the whole time, they're doing what they want.
Yeah. The sad thing is that university place, and trust me, I've got a degree. I went to university and ended up working in the alternative media because I realised the media is completely corrupt. And I don't want to work in that. So your degree is only going to get you a job working for the system that you're trying to fight, which is the psychotic thing about it all. And trust me, I know that. I've been to London, I've seen this. Drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning, not me, them. And you think you lot are incredibly unhappy because you're in a hell of a lot of debt and you're now working for the system that you were trying to fight against because you have good intentions. So the whole thing is inverted and backwards. Obviously, Semitic doesn't mean Israel. Semitic means a group of languages, largely Arabic. And guess who speaks Arabic? Many of the Palestinians speak Arabic. Yeah. So these Zionists aren't even from, don't speak most of the languages. Most of them are from Poland and the West anyway. So, this Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and how they get treated differently, it's all absurd. Most people don't know about these things, and to tell you the truth, I didn't know anything about this until 10 years ago, until I started looking into it more, because they don't understand the complexity of it. But again, behind it is this messianic agenda pushing forward for the Solomon's Temple and all that madness. Unless you understand that, you won't understand that these nutters, Netanyahu, Putin, Trump, and all of his gaggle of morons, believe they're doing the right thing. They believe they are freeing the lost sparks of this fallen soul into the husks of the Gentiles to go back up into the one soul again. They are a cult. And what we were saying earlier on about this communism leads to cults is exactly what we're saying. They're trying to set this up as a world belief system of the 7 Noahide laws, one of which is the belief and the worship of idols will be upon the pain of death, and your idol will be anyone other than their God. And this is the point. This is what people are missing, this lower level of stuff that drives politics, that drives geopolitics, that drives all these technocratic systems, the transhumanists. Everything comes back to what they're doing there and why they're doing it. And they believe, some of them are lunatics enough and been raised in this cult. Remember, It's a cult. Been brainwashed enough to believe that they are doing the right thing. And even if a part of them believes, oh, this don't seem right, killing aid workers, tying their hands up, they'll go, well, I better believe in it because I spent the last 40 years of my life doing horrible stuff. Then let's carry on down this road. I've got too much invested. We're quite far down the road with this, as per usual. And anti-Semitic doesn't even mean what it means. Semitic, again, has nothing to do with Israel. It's a group of languages that have appropriated this term Semitic from the Palestinians, they always do, these Sabbatean Zionists. They steal it and invert it and turn it around and use it against you. So Semitic doesn't even mean what they think it means or what they're claiming it to be. You can't stick anti on the front of a word and it mean a completely different thing. It just means anti, the thing that you've put the anti on. So Semitic is anti-Semitic languages. Antiperspirant is anti-perspiration. Sticking anti on the front doesn't change the terminology that it's attached to. It's not how it works.
It's very difficult as well. I mean, less so in Britain because I certainly wasn't in school, certainly in the mainstream media and stuff like that, absolutely. But in school, we weren't basically taught from the beginning, Israel is our greatest ally and all this kind of stuff, which you have in America. And I see it when people in America that have been through that brainwashing, which is what it is, they then suddenly start to see through stuff and go, well, hang on a minute, actually, who's orchestrating these wars that are taking the lives of American citizens? And then you show them videos of Benjamin Netanyahu literally begging Congress to go to war for them. And you're like, well, maybe they're not our greatest ally then. And then what happens is they set the boys on you then, because then they use the whole Christian right to, no, it's a biblical thing and all that stuff. They're our greatest ally. Well, if someone's your ally, they're supposed to do good things for you. That's the point. It's supposed to work both ways. You help them, they help you. Otherwise, what is it? You're basically... They're taking and not giving, and that is exactly what's happening. It's ridiculous. But more and more people are seeing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're using America. You. They couldn't care less about America. Netanyahu said himself, he said America's something we can move very easily. And for once he wasn't lying.
No, he wasn't lying. He's doing it straight in your face. And then when you start to figure it out and go, hang on a minute, that sounds a bit bad, this 7-year war. They go, no, we've got a little book here that says that you're going to be raptured up into the sky for 7 years, what all happens, and then come down and live for 1,000 years. What, the 1,000 years Sabbath that you're having on your own with your God that we're not involved with. And they twist it. So of course they're using evangelical Christians to poor sods. Been trying to point this out for years, that you are being used to build your own prison. That's why it's called a death cult, because they want you to die at the end of it for them to get what they want. And that doesn't involve anyone from the West, the Edomites, the Rome. That's why they're signifying and pulling down Rome. People need to wake up to this. It's a very, very odd thing, but it is true. And this is clearly and blatantly speeding up now to the last. They only have to 2,240 by their own beliefs to get this job done, or their God comes back and kills them too. So they're maniacs. No truth to it. It's just mental.
It seriously is. And that's the thing, we have conversations like this and people will listen and just go, what on earth are they on about it? And we have to say almost every time, we're not saying we believe it, we're saying they believe it. And they are trying to create a prophecy so that they can say, oh, look, it's prophecy. Well, it's not prophecy if you created it, mate. If I punched myself in the face, it wasn't prophecy. It was just me punching myself in the face, which I feel like doing actually half the time these days. Right, more good news. Bill Gates, another psychopath, says AI will replace doctors, teachers, and more in next 10 years, making humans unnecessary for most things. See, he hates human beings so much that he wanted to save everyone with an mRNA vaccine. It's weird, isn't it? While sharing his vision...
sense, yeah.
Well, exactly, because it's nonsense, isn't it? It's like, I need you to believe this right now. Okay, well, then now I need you to believe this. Yeah, but that contradicts that. They won't remember. While sharing his vision for the future of artificial intelligence on The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, another jab-pushing knoblet, last week, the Microsoft co-founder, who is one of the most famous businessmen and philanthropists, can't say that word ever, I dread it every time I see it pop up, said that soon humans won't be needed for most things. Cheers, Bill. So the era we've come to is sort of the vision that's computing was expensive and it basically became free. Gates said, it didn't, so I had to pay for mine. The era that we're just starting is that intelligence is rare. Intelligence is rare. Uses idiots. I'm Bill. I know everything. You're an idiot. So intelligence became rare. I mean, to be fair, if you walk down Derby City Centre, Bill's got a point for once. A great doctor, a great teacher, that's rare. And with AI over the next decade, that will become free. It'll become commonplace, great medical advice, great tutoring. Okay. What great medical advice will the AI doctor give me, Bill? I reckon it might give me what you want it to give me. It will give me basically what the World Health Organization says. It will say what Big Pharma says, what Gavi says, and all these organizations that you're funding with your ill-gotten gains. It's not going to be having a human conversation and processing and going, do you know what, actually there's an empathetic way I can look at this or whatever. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's no, this is what the computer says. Computer says take that. Take that now. Yeah, oh, he's dead. Never mind. It must have been the climate. But ultimately, he carries on, we'll decide. Now, I think it's meant to sound like he's saying we as in the human race will decide. I don't think he is. I think he's saying we as in him and his gaggle of fucking wrong-uns. But ultimately, we'll decide what the continued role of humans will be. He's a fucking Führer, isn't he?
Oh, it's just mental.
Like baseball. We won't want to watch a computer play baseball, Gates said. So there'll be some things that we reserve for ourselves. Oh, can I play baseball? Oh, thanks, Bill. You're so kind. I'm allowed to play. We're allowed to play baseball. Yeah, Bill said we're allowed to play baseball. But in terms of making things and moving things and growing food, over time, there'll basically be solved problems. So not content then with mass immigration that creates a mass influx of foreign workers that totally decimates the job market, creating a situation where wages are pulled down. Also the use of sweatshops and stuff in Indonesia and wherever else, which again, exploits them hugely, getting paid 7p a day if you're lucky, but then at the same time completely undermines companies in the West in terms of making products and therefore jobs. Not happy with doing that anymore. No, now we'll just literally replace you with AI and you can have your universal basic income. Don't worry, I'm Bill Gates. I care. So I won't let you starve. Don't worry about it. I've got some synthetic meat for him. Yep, have some of that. You can have a universal basic income, which will be sod all. And obviously it will come with the caveat of you do everything that you're told. And if you don't do everything you're told, including what the AI doctor told you to put in your veins, then sorry, hun, you don't get it. It's good. It's good news. It's good news.
It's almost like a cult, isn't it? That they're preparing. I don't know, some sort of technocratic cult. Yeah, you won't have doctors anyway. You'll have mechanics and programmers. If you're not fully human, you're not having biological doctors. You're laying it in a garage with a mechanic twiddling your nuts, and then you've got programmers updating your brain. You're not fully human. So they've set up both sides. You've got Bill Gates is the evil one. They've accepted we can't get Bill Gates across the line as the good one. We're going to have to go with him being the evil boss. Who's our goodie? Oh, we've got Elon Musk. Elon Musk loves humans. He likes having lots of humans. Not the humans as you know it. He doesn't really want. He wants to fill the world with androgynous cyber beings, again, that will be taken into the sweatshop, into the fix-up shop, the cut and shunt shop, to be fixed up every time they malfunction, which means don't do as they're told. The whole point is they're going to replace human with human 2.0, which will be this androgynous, bloody technocratic robot type thing. And this is their utopia. Androcene talks about this. The man with I've never seen a man with an egghead, but he has an egghead, like a perfect egghead. It's amazing. Have a look. Look like you want to tap a spoon on the top of it. He doesn't look human to me, and maybe that's a little bit harsh. But he also, if you read his manifesto, you will realise why. Because he's a lunatic, and he is involved with many of these tech companies, including Musk, funding them. Androcene Horowitz, I think it's called, the venture capital fund that he runs, and it's attached to Musk and it's attached to Peter Thiel and all of these guys. And they're very much involved with drone technology that is going to modernize an AI warfare. So you're going to have these geeks sitting at home, those geeks that sit at home and play Warcraft,
Yeah, or Warhammer,
on their
paint
computers,
figurines.
or Warhammer, painting figurines because they're detached from humanity and they're scared of going outside. Well, these guys are now going to have to blow you up from their top. That's who, when it says the meek inherited the earth, what they meant was the geeks inherited the earth for their real masters who you don't see behind the curtain.
Yeah. If I was Andrew and I had a head like that, I wouldn't sit on a wall, because you're just asking for trouble, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? We've all heard the nursery rhymes. Just be careful. Get down. Cheers, Rich. I've enjoyed today. Again, we have to always end it with the fact that what we're doing is bringing you information about what's going on, but we're not being negative at all. I'm very positive, actually, about the fact that more and more stuff is coming out now. More people are having conversations about these things, which they never were before. Like, yes, okay, the agenda is accelerating at the moment, but it's also out in the open like it wasn't before. But it was still going on before. It was just going on behind closed doors. And it would kind of poke its little nose in here and there and affect your lives, but it was sort of more subtle, really. Whereas now, because it's basically come out and slapped you around the head with a wet fish, you're kind of a bit more, hang on a minute, something's going on. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's do something about it. And I believe that is a positive thing. It's just the worse it gets, the more obvious it gets, the more obvious it gets, the more people wake up, the more we've got half a chance of stopping it.
Yeah, we've got more than half a chance. We've got billions on our side. They've got a few thousand in a room at their computers. But, how many people are going to get hurt in the process? That was always my concern from the day of starting this stuff. How much they're going to win, which they won't. It's who can we save?
That's the negative.
Which they're going to.
Yeah, that's the thing. But the more people get harmed, and this, whether that be a war, whether that be these net zero madness or whatever, the more people, bills going through the roof yesterday in the UK, again, even though we already pay the highest on the planet, the more people that get dragged into that position, we spoke about it before, that position where you've got, do you know what, I'm screwed, mate. And actually there's amazing almost freedom in being completely screwed, because you can take the gloves off and go, do you know what, I've got nothing less to lose, let's have it. When I had something to protect, I was umming and ahhing. I kind of wanted to fight, but actually, no, I want to restore what little thing I've got. Well, now you've taken that from me as well. Well, then in which case, let's have it. And so that in time it's a dangerous time for them, which is why they're trying to rush this stuff in so quickly, particularly the censorship and the AI control and stuff, because they know what's coming. They know there's billions of people that they are literally spitting on a daily basis that are suddenly going to go, oh no, that's not rain. Oh no, hang on. And they're going to turn around and have it. So positive, Rich. I'm positive. You're positive. I hope you are at home as well, because we need you. We need each other. I'll see you tomorrow, Rich. We're back again on Thursday. It's Thursday tomorrow, isn't it? I lose track of days nowadays. Please, if you want to support what we're doing, head over to shop.iconic.com. We've got a whole new range of coffee. You've got instant coffee. You've got the beans as well, if you've got all that fancy stuff at home. I haven't, but you might have. So you can, ground your own coffee and all that kind of stuff. If you use the code TRENDING, you get 10% off the whole range. Any profit that comes in from that goes to basically Iconic, to what we're trying to do, to try and expand a little bit, get more information out to as many people as we can. And hopefully try and turn this tide, Rich. I think it's turning, but it would be nice if it turned faster, wouldn't it, mate?
It would, yeah, but we'll be back tomorrow with you to back once again like a renegade master. That was what I was always told when I was on the Dodgems, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, the 90s, interesting time. See you later, everyone. Bye.